Climate change is the crisis of our generation.
Climate scientists have issued their starkest warning yet about the speed and impact of human-caused global warming.
Scientists have predicted this for the last 70 years, but it's actually happening more quickly and it's more intense than we realized.
This is our reality. Carbon dioxide levels in our atmosphere have been reaching levels they have never reached before.
This data isn't just a coincidence. The multi-agency U.S. Climate Action Report from 2002 reported that recent climate changes are likely due to mostly human activities, and the average global temperature is likely to rise about 3 degrees Celsius by 2100.
Yes, you heard that right. The recent influx in climate change is due to human activity. So we believe it is our obligation as human beings to research the effects of climate change on species all around the globe.
Let's take a look at a particular species that would be put in harm's way due to climate change: ghost shrimp.
Ghost shrimp are known as ecological engineers due to the positive impact that they have on their habitats. They introduce air into the surface sediment through burrowing and provide an environment attractive to other species including the blind goby, 3 species of pea crabs, 2 species of clams, a copepod, a shrimp, polonoid worms, and isopods, all of which live within the burrows.
Ghost shrimp are freshwater crustaceans that are native to lakes in southeastern America. However, as the temperature of lakes increases due to factors such as climate change and global warming, the species may be greatly affected.
Results from a study done between 1985 and 2009 have shown that the surface temperature of lakes has been increasing at around 0.34 Celsius per decade. Researchers have found that lakes increase in temperature more rapidly than their surrounding atmosphere. When the temperature of bodies of water increases, the pH decreases, leading to a more acidic state.
The project that we are conducting is the impact of climate change on lake residing species, an observational study of ghost shrimp behaviors among various pH levels.
The research question in which we're trying to answer is, how does the pH of water affect ghost shrimp behavior? A study conducted by Martin Posey asked a similar question, asking whether or not lowered salinity had an impact on the activity of ghost shrimp. This study found that there was in fact a positive relationship between salinity and ghost shrimp activity. Based on this evidence, we hypothesized that the pH will affect ghost shrimp behavior as well.
The reason that we want to know how a difference in pH impacts the behavior of ghost shrimp is so that we can create a model that can predict how climate change affects wildlife that lives in lakes. Climate change is a serious issue that not only affects us as humans, but also can and will affect the creatures that we share this earth with.
We'll be using 3 separate tanks, all containing a different level of pH. Tank 1 has a pH of 6.5, Tank 2 has a pH of 7, and Tank 3 has a pH of 7.5. We will be regulating the pHs using hydrochloric acid as our acid and sodium hydroxide as our base.
We will be using 3 different tanks, each containing diverse levels of pH of 6.5, 7.0, and 7.5, which each tank containing 3 different ghost shrimp. The environment of each tank will be composed of the same 3 items, which are Java moss, gravel, and 2 rocks. The ghost shrimp will be fed the same type and amount of fish food 3 times per week. The feeding source we will use is 3 pebbles of fish food from Extreme Aquatic Foods, which will be crushed and placed in each of the separate tanks.
For our experiment, an ethogram will be constructed to categorize the observed behaviors of the ghost shrimp. The behaviors are sedentary, which is resting, burrowing, which would include hiding in the Java moss or gravel, active, which would be any point where the shrimp are swimming around at a normal rate, and aggressive, which would be when 2 shrimp have an aggressive altercation. For any continuous behaviors, each 10 minutes worth of that behavior counts for 1 point. As for the experiment and observations themselves, we will be coming into the lab twice a week for 30 minutes for 4 weeks to observe the observations and write them in our ethogram during each observation period.
By conducting this experiment, we can compare the ethogram results from each tank to see if there's a significant difference between ghost shrimp behavior among the separate tanks. For each behavior, we'll be creating a table and a bar graph, with tanks 1, 2, and 3 on the x-axis, and the average amount of behaviors on the y-axis. Along with this, we'll be conducting an ANOVA test to see if there's a significant difference between the behaviors of the ghost shrimp among the 3 separate tanks.
By conducting our experiment, we'll be able to create a model that can help predict how climate change affects other wildlife species. Our research will show us how these harmful changes in temperature, and therefore a change in pH, can be for species living in lakes.